Welcome to the Open Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and two co-hosts. My daughter.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley, my mother's co-host.
And my other co-host is Dr.
Frank Powers.
And Frank is my fiance. We've got a great guest on today, and I know we're going to have some
Yes,
fun
exciting.
and interest today. But before we get started with our guest, Frank, I wanted to remind people that our new book, Open to Love, The Secrets of Senior Dating, is now available on Amazon.
Yes.
And we know one of the biggest problems in America today is?
Well, it's loneliness.
Yeah.
And the Surgeon General says it's the #1 mental health issue for people who are seniors. And so we feel that we're offering the possibility of one antidote, and probably the best antidote to loneliness is finding a partner. And our guest today has found a partner.
Yes. How do you want to introduce our guest for us?
I would love to, Mom. So as you and Dr. Frank said, we are going to talk today about the topic of my husband is not a rainbow. And our guest today is Kelley Lynn, and she has actually been on one of our cable television shows. So you can go to Open to Hope and see her there. Kelley is a comedian, a TED Talk speaker, and a certified grief counselor who works virtually. She is the author of the book, My Husband is Not a Rainbow, the brutally awful, hilarious truth about life, love, grief, and loss. In 2011, Kelley's world changed forever when her beautiful husband, Don, left for work and never came home. As we've heard, she has since found love again after loss, and we are going to be talking to her today about that. And she was recently a keynote speaker in Tampa, Florida, at the Soaring Spirits Conference, which Dr. Frank and Dr. Gloria attended. So welcome to our show, Kelley Lynn.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and thanks everybody for having me.
It's great to have you on, Kelley Lynn.
Very much.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your beginning journey of grief and loss.
Don Shepard had a cardiac arrest. He was 46 years old. It was very sudden. He left for work that morning. It was an ordinary Wednesday in 2011, July. And he never came home again. It was like a bad magic trick that I never signed up for to see. And my life changed in an instant, and I was widowed at 39 years old. Before that, I was already a comedian and, kind of an actor, a struggling actor living in New York City and all of that. So I kind of took that and ran with it, and just started talking about loss and grief in my comedy. And he would have loved that because he was a paramedic that was his job. And he had a really great sense of humor. And the way that they got through a lot of their traumas at work was to use humor with each other and play pranks on each other and tell jokes to get through the shifts that were really, really hard, where they would, have a hard shift and lose a patient or something. So I right away started using humor in my loss and to get through and to help me cope.
Well, Kelley Lynn, didn't you do something in Times Square?
I did a video that you can find today on my website. It's still there. My website is iamkelleylynn.com. And it was a Valentine's Day video where it was a couple years after my loss. And I went out into the streets of New York City on Valentine's Day with a big sign that said, "I'm a widow, buy me flowers." And I stood in front of a flower shop and I just kind of talked to people as they walked by and kind of made them feel, uncomfortable, I guess, because that's part of the humor of it, is telling people, hey, my husband's dead, I didn't get any flowers today. Who's going to buy me flowers? And in the end, I got a bunch of people to get me roses and bunches of flowers. And we created this really sweet video out of it. And it's both funny and very sweet in the end because people did buy me flowers. I think at first they didn't know what to make of me. They were like, is this real? Is this a prank? Are you really widowed? Said, yep, I am. Everybody thinks it's a scam because you're standing in the middle of New York City asking for flowers.
talk about humor.
It's more the situation surrounding the loss that's funny. That's where the humor comes from. As most of you know that we've all been through hardships. We've all been through things that are impossible to get through and feel impossible to get through. And it's the stuff that happens surrounding that where it's funny. It's not funny that my husband died. That's not
Right.
funny. What's funny is how people react to that. What's funny is all the red tape issues you have to go through as a widowed person, like trying to speak on the phone and change your phone plan with AT&T, for example, and they're asking you over and over again, I need to speak to your husband in order to change this plan. I need to speak to your husband. He's the authorized name on the account. And you're telling them, well, he's dead. That's why I'm calling. You can't speak to him. And that's where the humor comes in these ridiculous scenarios that you go through. When you go to pick up his ashes and the ashes come in a big cardboard box about this big instead of what you see in the movies, which is these beautiful urns. And when it happens to you, you have to pay for those urns. I couldn't afford that. Those are hundreds of dollars. You have to earn the urn. The beautiful urns you have to earn. So I could not do that. I was poor. And so I got a big cardboard box and they said, he was a tall guy, he was almost 6'4". Here you go. And, you go to the beach and you scatter the ashes and they come right back in your face. And it's things like that where it becomes funny. It's so absurd that it's funny, the way people react to loss.
Now, I would think that a widowed group would laugh a lot more than a normal being down.
They understand.
Yeah, because the ashes hit him in the face.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. We have, I run a local widow group here in Massachusetts through Soaring Spirits International, and it's a social support group. We get together a couple times a month for coffee, lunch, things like that. And we just had a meetup the other day. And we laugh so much. We just laugh. We all have the darkest sense of humor and we just laugh about everything. And, and then we laugh about the fact that people's reaction to us laughing, like there's this big widow group. It's held in the library, which makes it even funnier because they keep coming in and telling us to be quiet. Calm down the widows. They're being loud again.
Oh my goodness, the widows are having too good a
Too
time.
much fun. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit because you told us that you have remarried. Frank and I have a lot in the book about online dating and loneliness and all that. I wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Is that how you met?
Yes, we met.
Yes.
We met on Silver Singles. I
Oh
was
my
writing a
goodness.
book for widows.
Yeah, she told me that she was only doing this for research, but when I met her, I thought, nah, this is more than research.
But Frank's a psychologist also, so we've been therapists for 40 years, and each, so 80 total.
Oh my God, that's a long career.
So I said, write the book with me. But I wanted to talk to you about, your thoughts on loneliness and being a widow.
I think it's such an important topic of loneliness because, like you said earlier, loneliness it's such a thing that everybody goes through, right? And I think as we get older, and especially in this society where you have so much social media and so much online and virtual, and we've all been through a worldwide pandemic, and all of those things, I think, help to create more loneliness in a lot of ways, because you have all these ways to reach out, and yet
high tech, no touch.
Yeah, high tech, no touch. But I have a nursing background back in the day, and we always said, and this was 50 years ago, when the machines were starting up, we'd say high tech, high touch. You need to touch your patients. You need to touch. And we don't hear that, high touch.
Right. And it's become so oversaturated that it's hard to reach somebody, like you have some friends who only email, and you have other friends who only text, and you have some friends who only do social media. And it's like, it's impossible to reach people sometimes, and to just sit and have a cup of coffee, or to know how to talk to somebody. And it can be really tough, even though there's all these ways to communicate. It seems like communication is an issue for most people.
How did you get yourself to do it as a widow?
It took a long time for me. I was not ready for a long time. It took me 5 years, 5 years to even think about dating again and starting that process. For the first few years, I was in such shock, and I was just in such a place of I still felt married. Like I still felt married, you know, when somebody just disappears like that, one day they're here, the next day they're gone, they're not sick in any way or anything like that. It never makes sense to you logically, sudden death. It just doesn't make sense. And so you can tell yourself over and over again, okay, he's not here, but you still feel married. And it took me a long time and a lot of grief counseling to kind of not feel that way, to feel like, okay, I'm not this person's wife anymore. And I still love them and I'll always love them, but I can't be their wife anymore. And so that was hard for me. So once I kind of made that shift in my head, then I could start thinking about, okay, let me see if I can find, you know, something lovely again. Let me see if I can find a different but equally powerful, loving relationship again. And then I started going online. And as you know, it's a journey, as you said. I like to call it a tsunami because it crashes into your life.
You do
But
have to be persistent and you do have to be courageous to do this. And
You
that's what
do.
we're encouraging people to understand. But the
Yeah.
rewards are tremendous. I'm assuming that's happened for
Can
you.
be, they can be. It's kind of like going through like a discount rack at like a department store, you know?
Someone said you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You kind of go through these racks of clothing and it's like, oh, this one's a little warped. This one's not right. This one, you know, and it's a lot of that
It
before
doesn't-
you finally find something that works.
right, right. Well, we had a niece of mine was in town, and she's been divorced for a long time, and she's like, I said, well, why don't you you know, think about online dating? And she said, because I'm not attractive enough
And I don't think there's anyone out there
for me. What would your comment to her about that be?
I think that I honestly do think there's somebody out there for everybody. And I think that there's so much in that word attractive, right? Like what makes a person attractive to me is that they are confident in themselves and that they are putting out something into the world that's like a good thing, you know, that they're a decent person and that they're kind and that they have these lovely qualities about them. Honestly, I couldn't be attracted to somebody, no matter what they looked like, if they didn't have those qualities. So I think even
Exactly.
though, you know, online dating is tough because it is so much about the physical appearance, you see their picture, you see their profiles, and then you get to know them, you know? But I do think that it's still very important to people who you are inside, and that's what makes you attractive. These days online, that's one of the tough parts I think about online dating is that they don't even dump you anymore. They just disappear. They ghost you. It's
They
called
call it
ghosting.
ghosting, yes.
Yes, which
I
means
actually
something
had
very
that happen
different.
to me.
Yes. You are
Right, and
Before I met
ghosting
Frank, I
means
got
something
ghosted.
very different to a widow.
Kelley Lynn, I've got to jump in here because what I'm very impressed about is that despite the fact that you said you were dumped, you didn't give up.
I didn't.
You,
I didn't.
which is amazing, which is phenomenal, which is, you know, a very good message out there for people.
Yeah.
I
You know?
didn't. Because I really do believe in love. In the end, I really do believe in love, and I don't think I'll ever stop believing in love and in the idea of, you know, new love, new beginnings. Oh, it's never too late. I mean, I honestly believe you can be 80, 85 years old and still find a new love for yourself. It's never too
80 and
late.
85.
They were.
That's how old you are. You do not look that old at all.
I know.
That's how old we are.
Wow, that's amazing.
When you do get ghosted or dumped, however you want to call it, talk about it, Frank. That's information, right?
Well, I see it as, hey, this is information. And really, in a sense, you want to do this for other people, but you want them to have it to do. It for you is let you know as early as possible so you don't waste a lot of time and they don't
Nope.
waste a lot of time. So if you meet up for coffee and you know there's no magic, there's no interest there, that you need to find a lovely, nice way of saying to the person, I really appreciate you coming. You know, I know how hard this is. It's hard for me, but I don't want to waste your time because I know it's precious and I want you to find the person that you need and want, and I want to find the person I need and want. But I do want to be honest with you. I know that it won't work between us, so I don't want to waste your time.
That's a really great way to say it. I really think that's kind, and it's true, and it's honest, and it's just perfect.
Yeah, so perfect cheering people down, but you're also becoming a better consumer with every date that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And you have to look at it that way. I am learning more. I'm out there trying. I'm learning from these experiences. These are not,
It's not a waste of time.
It's not a waste
to
of
meet
time.
with someone and find out it doesn't work, because that gives you information about what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it gives you a better idea of what does work.
Give
Yeah.
us advice of what it can help us as widows.
So it takes time, and it's different for every single person. Some people are ready, 2-3 months after their loss. Other people like me weren't ready for 5 years. And it just really depends on so many things, and where you're coming from, and what your experience was, and what your relationship was with that person. And so many factors. But my biggest piece of advice would be to be kind to yourself, and to be patient with yourself, and to realize that you will know, not your mom or your dad or your best friend or all your other people in your life telling you, you need to date. Why don't you move on? Why don't you do this? They don't know. You know when you're ready. You know when it's time. You know when it feels like, okay, I think I have room in my heart now to think of the concept of someone else. And that does not mean that you are leaving that person that you will always love behind. You're not doing that. I don't believe in the concept of moving on. I believe in moving forward and moving with. And so you're taking that person with you. And what happens is your relationship with that person who has died changes. It shifts and it changes.
Great advice.
Absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. And tell us where we can get a hold of you, all the wonderful things. I know you've done a TED Talk. I know you have done a lot. Talk to us about where we can find you and what you want to promote, basically, and your book.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So all of that you just mentioned is all on my website. So you can find everything there. The website is IamKelleyLynn.com, KelleyLynn.com. And you can find my book there. You can find my TED Talk there. You can find a lot of comedy there, comedy videos, and information on how to work with me as a grief counselor. I am a certified grief counselor. I do work virtually, so I can work with anybody virtually all over the place, wherever you live. And I live here in Massachusetts, and I do also meet people in person at a local office that I rent here in Central Massachusetts. So wherever you are, I would be more than happy to help you through not only the grief, but also getting back into life.
Thank you, Kelley Lynn. You're a special person.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody out there.
I love how candid you are and how real you are. Please go look at Kelley Lynn's information and look at that video she did in New York City. It is hysterical, but behind every joke is a lot of truth.
Yeah.
So thank you for building awareness for not only widowhood, but for finding hope and love after loss.
Thanks, everybody, for watching this show today. And Heidi and I and Frank and the whole Open to Hope team want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.